What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Dave Duenas, here on Leaving the Ring Radio. We got a lot to unhand wrap here on the show. This past Saturday, we had Ryan Garcia return to the ring against a tough Mexican fighter, undefeated, Oscar Duarte. When it got announced, I got to be honest with you, I immediately was like, okay, he's serious. This is a tough, competitive fight. And what we witnessed on Saturday, it was a tough, competitive fight. It told me that he wanted to go find out whether or not his rib was hurting. Could he erase all the doubts and criticism that he was getting after losing to Tank Davis from a body shot? But did we get a lot of answers to these questions that a lot of us have been wondering about Ryan Garcia? I think yes and no. I think that what we witnessed in the ring that Saturday night is now that we have more questions about Ryan Garcia. Now, again, you got to give him his props. He could have taken an easier route. Could have said, nah, I'm not going to get in there with an undefeated guy who's got some power, who applies pressure. He could have went with somebody else that didn't have any of those in their arsenal. Could have said, I want to go for a feather-fisted guy and a guy that's going to move where I got to stock him. He didn't do that. He got a Mexican kid that was going to come forward, try to work the body, and land his left hook, okay? So let's review what we witnessed on Saturday night, all right? And one of the things that's really stand out, and I know everybody was talking about this in the social media world, was when Oscar did get some momentum, and Oscar was throwing that left hook and trying to work the body, Ryan Garcia was doing something that was really weird in there. He was turning his back. He was, which was funny to me when I saw the commentators try to say it was the shoulder roll. They were like, oh, he's doing the shoulder roll, but, you know, it needs to be taut. It needs to be this, which is true. Okay, it's something that if it's a particular style that you want to adapt with, you got to learn it from an earlier stage. You don't try to do it late in your career. Watch Oscar De La Hoya when he started working with Floyd Mayweather Sr. It wasn't bad, but you could also see that it wasn't great. It didn't really fit his style, okay, and his body type. Ryan Garcia, what they were trying to describe, I didn't witness that, to tell you the truth. I didn't see him trying to do the shoulder roll, keeping that shoulder up tight and trying to cover his chin. What I was watching that night was something that you normally, now, if you have never been to a boxing gym, you never walked into a boxing gym, you're probably not going to know what I'm talking about. It's going to go right over your head. What Ryan was doing is something that normally a beginner does. A guy that's never put on gloves, a guy that's never been hit in the face, a guy that's, you know, probably shadow box and thought in his mind, I'm going to do this, you know, I'm going to and then I'm going to slip and do that. But then when you have a physical body in front of you, everything changes. I saw a guy that almost resembled as if it was the first time him getting in the ring and he didn't know how to react to somebody throwing a punch at him. And his body was reacting, you know, it was rejecting the fact that he was getting hit. So he was kind of turning his back, which the ref, I got to tell you this, was terrible. Bias, wasn't correcting Ryan Garcia, telling him, you can't turn your back. This is why you're getting hit in the back of the head or on the back in a liver shot. You can't turn your back. Again, I just found it really, really weird that Ryan Garcia was doing that. I don't know. He said that his ribs are healed. He had no concern about that. But at the same time, I mean, maybe he did it in his mind, but his body sure was disagreeing whatever he was saying, because by that turning the way he was doing, like I said, I've witnessed that in the gym with a guy that showed a lack of confidence, wasn't sure how he was going to take the punishment, and instead of just closing his eyes, his whole body was like, I want to get out of here. Watching when Oscar Duarte went after Ryan Garcia, I was watching a kid that just wanted to get out of the ring. Okay, I'll go back again with the questions that a lot of folks were having with Ryan as myself. Okay, that raised more questions. Like I said, he went back in there in the ring after being stopped by Tank Davis. He takes on a very tough opponent. But running backwards, what he was doing for a good 2-3 rounds, and where the whole arena was booing him, okay, up in Texas. They didn't like what they were witnessing. I wonder how much the kid struggles and who he wants to be, okay? Because it's already telling. When you see a fighter that switches trainers like their underwears, you that gives you the sense that they're not sure who they want to be. Okay, they're looking for something, and they're searching to find what's gonna fix whatever is mentally in their head. And hopefully Ryan sticks with James, his coach, and works out those kinks, which is a lot of kinks, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of wrinkles in this game, all right? The going back and stuff, but I'll tell you the pro about what I witnessed with Ryan, okay, was what his trainer witnessed is that you had a guy that was pressuring in, and at the same time he would reach. So he would open up. And when you open up like that, you don't want to step in and crowd your punches. What you want to do is allow him to walk in to a big shot, okay? So when Derek James goes, look, when you pull out, throw your left hook. You're going to catch him. And as soon as Ryan did that, we saw the end result. We saw Oscar Duarte on the screens. You could see take that knee, got rocked, and it was really bad. And I know some folks were saying, like, I think they should have given him a chance. Honestly, when I was witnessing that, I was like, no, he's done. His legs are gone. And and if anything, a fighter knows when their body's like giving up. So good for him that he listened to his body and was like, I can't do this. I might end up getting hurt even more, which we've seen happen in the sport of boxing. So good for him. He didn't wait for anybody to save him. His body told him shut down, and it shut down, and he saved himself from getting hurt any further or getting any more damage than he had received, okay? Now, what that tells me about Ryan Garcia, and some folks will call it a lucky punch. Some folks will say it's not a lucky punch. I don't care what you call it. What I call it is a fighter paying attention to his trainer, who you depend on, okay? Because I've always said this. Boxing is like football. You have your field coach, which would be the fighter, and your tower coach, which would be your corner trainer. Okay, out there in the corner, observing things that you can't see because you're up and close and personal, right? So when he was able to listen to his tower coach tell him, you need to do this, and he executed it, that tells me he understands the plan and he's going to follow through. Now, what I've got a sense with the kid that he is kind of stubborn. He does want to do what he wants to do in everything. Okay, we've seen his relationship with Golden Boy. It's a roller coaster. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, he doesn't like being told what to do. He takes things very personal. You say the kid's hair's messed up. He didn't put gel in it. He takes that as you don't like him. So I don't know if he went in there in the mindset of not even paying attention to what Derek James and not respecting him. Because you can respect the trainer in the gym, but when the lights are on, that pressure hits. Some fighters can just take everything that they taught in the gym and throw it out the door and just go on automatic, okay? Which Ryan Garcia did. He went on automatic. He continued to walk backwards, pull out backwards, continue to have his chin up high. Was looking just to burst shots from the outside, leap in with fast hooks and a fast right. Nothing, he didn't want to set nothing up. But it immediately saw that, that when none of that started working for him, And this fight became a lot more difficult than what I think he was believing should have been. He listened to his trainer and bang, it clicked. He decided, I'm not going to be stubborn. I'm going to take the advice of this guy, and that's why I pay him. That's why I have him here on my corner. I'm going to take his advice, and he sees something I didn't see. So that does show me some signs of intelligence on Ryan Garcia's part. Then after the fight, he explains his position, which all fighters do. And the interviewer is going to ask him, hey, okay, we got this out of the way. It was a competitive fight, probably a lot more difficult than you were anticipating. Where do we go from here? Well, he decided to call out Rolly Romero. Now, Rolly Romero is the guy that actually gave Tank Davis a pretty goddamn good fight, right? And Rolly is 15-1 with 13 KOs under his belt. Really tough kid, got power in both hands. He actually sparred Ryan Garcia, so they do have some history. They do know each other. They've come across, they've become friendly. But this is the fight game, and what Ryan Garcia is trying to do is sell the next big thing out there for him. Okay, and it might not necessarily be the fights at 140 that we want, but this does pose a very interesting fight with Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero, again, a kid that has a lot of self-belief in himself, and he does carry power. In my opinion, okay, out of the two, I think that Rolly is probably edges the better boxer. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because if you watch Ryan Garcia when he fought Tank Davis the first time, again, he was explosive, got power, he's got speed, and he just relied on that. There was really no real, line of a plan to execute. With Rolly, he used this jab, he was pushing back Tank, he was making Tank think on his feet, where again, go back to the Ryan, you see Tank setting up the shot that he was looking for to drop Ryan Garcia. So again, it makes it a very interesting fight, in my opinion, with these two stepping into the ring, which Garcia's looking at, saying, hey, I want this guy. Obviously, Rolly Romero's going to be like, yeah, I want this fight as well. Golden Boy have already showed interest. They want this fight. Now, whether it's going to be on pay-per-view, I'm thinking it's going to end up on DAZN pay-per-view because the amount of money both of these kids are going to ask for and want, it's not going to fit in the budget of DAZN's schedule for the whole year. So they're going to have to look for outsourcing it and get it on DAZN and get fans to pay for it. Now, that's the big question. Is it pay-per-view worthy? That's going to be entirely up to the viewer, the consumer. How do they feel about it? Would they want to watch it? Rolly is a very tricky, strong fighter. It makes it a really good fight for Ryan Garcia, but is it the fight that most fans are going to be clamoring for and asking for? Well, let me tell you this. Coming off of a knockout loss, Ryan got in with a tough, undefeated guy. My opinion was that when they were talking about Teofimo Lopez, I thought too early, too soon. If you remember Lennox Lewis, the great heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis at the time, said about Michael Grant, he was on a hurry to come up. Okay, meaning that he didn't set his stones, his ducks in a row to get in the position he was at. Okay, that if he would have done that, put his, fight the right fights to build his confidence, to build his skills, to get to the point where he could have been, he probably would have had a much more of an actual chance of beating Lennox Lewis. Now, with Ryan Garcia, I don't know if he can actually do that. I think Ryan Garcia is Ryan Garcia. I think that his power and his speed get him out of a lot of situations, okay, against durable fighters. Could get him out of a situation with Rolly Romero. Can Rolly Romero take Ryan Garcia's explosive power, right? And I think that a lot of folks are going to lean towards Ryan Garcia stopping Rolly Romero. Like I said, I think he's the like barely edging it, a hair better than Ryan Garcia in terms of having a better executed plan. But the eraser to the flaws that Ryan Garcia has is in that left hook. And he's got him out of situations time and time and time and time again. So that's what's always made Ryan Garcia exciting. Do I ever see him improving? I don't know. You always hear that old saying, practice makes perfect. Not if you're doing it wrong. So, this is the first fight with Derek James. Tough test for him to go up and fight Romero, but because of his stature, there's really, and because of the guys he's fought in the past, fight fans have been calling for bigger and better fights for this kid. They want to see more, okay? And even with that loss, you could still see he brings a massive crowd to witness this kid because it's always what's going to happen. Is Ryan going to get stopped or is he going to stop his opponent? His flaws is something that everybody's going to have to get over. I don't see him ever correcting it. I know that at 140, he's going to have a really tough time with the guys right now. I just put up the list of the 4 guys that Ryan shares the betting with. Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney saying that's it. He's moving up. If fighting Regis Progress, who's they're fighting this month here in December. Progress saying, hey, I'm going to jump up as well. Matias looking like a beast. The Puerto Rican sensation there. Ryan is in a hell of a spot from 135 to 140. I know he's a catch weight at 143 fighting Duarte. But if he moves up at 147, it just becomes more unrealistic because of the flaws that he carries. He's got a lot of work. There's a lot of work, not just, his mental state. There's a lot of work in connecting his mental state with his body to react, have a time reaction to certain things that are going to be confronted in that ring. A ring has always been the truth teller. You could say all this crap, but when it comes fighting out, we're going to find out. Were you well prepared? Did you do this? Did you learn that? And the truth had spoke on Saturday night when Ryan Garcia stepped in with Oscar Duarte, because we saw what we witnessed was you haven't corrected any of your flaws. You're still making a lot of the same mistakes, and you looked really uncomfortable when the pressure was put on you. You didn't look confident. You didn't know how to get out of these situations by turning your back. Again, you look very novice, in my opinion, when you were doing the turning your back away. It wasn't a shoulder roll. It wasn't a shoulder block. I don't care what the commentators were saying. They should have called what they saw in front of them, which was beginner movement, somebody that's not used to being attacked. Their body was reacting to like, oh shit, I'm about to get hit. So whatever Ryan Garcia does next, it's going to be really interesting. It might be Rolly. In between that, if it doesn't happen, because like I said, I think money's going to be a big issue. There's going to be some back and forth. I hope that both men decide to keep busy in between that. There's no crime in having a soft touch before the lead up of your big fight that you're trying to sell. A traditional thing that's been done from the 70s, 80s, and 90s is when you got 2 guys on the same track, about to have a head collision. You would have them on the same card, like we're having in this late December, AJ and Deontay Wilder, they're fighting on the same card, different opponents. So it generates excitement. So I wouldn't mind seeing that before them two get in the ring. I want to see excitement. I want to see adjustments. I want to see ring rust not being a problem. I want to see that this is going to be something to salivate over. That's what I'm hoping for. If they decide to sign on and happen. If it happens right away, well, shit, I'm going to take it regardless. We're all going to take it. It doesn't matter to us and stuff, But I think both guys, being that they have flaws, and being that they're kind of in the same level in their careers, they're at the same in the same area in their careers. I think this is up for a good fight. Again, you may not like it if it ends up on pay-per-view. I don't like when certain fights don't end up on pay-per-view, but I still buy it. Why? Because I'm a boxing zombie. I got to watch everything. But I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to sit there and not tell somebody this is a good fight. It's going to be a really good fight. Anyways, I'm your host, Dave Duarte, man. I hope you enjoyed this segment.